solitude is not isolation. Solitude is not isolation. It's not escape. Isolation is escape. Solitude is a place of engagement with God, communion and intimacy with Him. Ruth Haley Barton defines solitude like this. Solitude is a place. It's a place in time, meaning it's not just a philosophical idea. It's a place in time that is set apart for God and God alone. A time when we unplug and withdraw from the noise of interpersonal interactions, from the noise, busyness, and constant stimulation associated with life in the company of others. Silence is paired with that, where you unplug from the noise of the world and the noise that we contribute to the world. Silence isn't just about not other people not talking, it's about you not talking. And so how can intimacy with God really be developed if you don't spend any time alone? What close, intimate relationship do you have when you get zero alone time? You don't have them. That's the point. It's not that a relationship breaks down its intimacy once it's in the company of others. Okay, in marriage, my wife and I, you can have a close relationship while being in the company of others. We've got 5 kids. It's a lot of noise, a lot of chaos. It's not that we can't have a personal, close relationship with each other at the dinner table with our kids or in the car. Well, that one's tough. But so it's being out to dinner with people. It's not that you don't have a relationship there or you don't have a measure of intimacy, but the kinds of relationship and closeness you have in the company of others is only reinforced by how you nurture it in the private, in the personal. Whatever the relationship is, whether it be marriage or friendship or your siblings, like those kinds of relationships, the depth of them get increased only when there's personal time, when there's time alone together. And it's especially true in marriage that So you cannot offload private intimacy into public engagement. And here's what I mean. When you have, let's say, a young couple, a newlywed, and they just become infatuated with each other, and they're just lost in that love. And there's a measure where you go, oh, that's cute. That's sweet. And then there's a line. It's possibly different from other perspectives, but we all know a line where it's like, hang on, that's too much. And what do we always say to that? Get a room. It's indicating a measure of privacy. It's especially cute and sweet when it's like an elderly couple that's all affectionate to one another. Yeah, there's a point where it's like, that's too much. Right? So we know there's a point of intimacy that's like, that's not for the public. And if my wife and I, if you and your spouse do not nurture a private intimacy, then a public show of intimacy is either a facade, a show, or it's just not going to happen. You'll see the coldness. I don't know if you've ever been in the presence of people who might even be married, but man, the love has grown cold. And you can feel it in their presence. How much more true is that in our relationship with God? And this is where my concern, I want every single one of our gatherings when we gather for prayer and worship for there to be a felt sense of God's presence, for you to become familiar with God's presence, a felt sense of that, not just some idea, but a true communion and engagement with God. And there's a measure where God's presence is manifested in the corporate gathering for worship. But listen, please, you cannot have your most intimate relationship with God while in public worship. And there's many people, many sweet, loving, Jesus-loving charismatics, whom I love dearly, but use public worship as a place for their private intimacy. And there's a measure where the same as we would see a couple be like, get a room. And that's the role of solitude and silence. And a lot of times because we like the sense of God's presence, we like what it feels like, what it means to be in close relationship with God and to sense his presence, because we like that, and we don't nurture it privately, we start sensing and feeling that in the public gathering. We just don't know what to do. And your intimacy with God in the public that I think is necessary. There's a reason why we gather on the first day of the week every single week, because the corporate gathering matters. Because the way the presence of God is nurtured in the corporate gathering, it matters. It's just not all of what our relationship with God looks like. It has to be nurtured in the private. And that's what solitude and silence is for. It's to be alone with God. It's not a place of isolation. It's not a place of self-love, self-care, or, many times in isolation, people end up with self-loathing and misery. And let me just make a quick pastoral point here. There's many of you who might find yourself in a sudden season of isolation. This is, when like a spouse dies, and all of a sudden you or even something less sorrowful and grieving, but still a point of grief, I hear, is empty nest stage. I say I hear because I am not in that stage. I hear from parents who raise children and get into the empty nest stage that there's a lot more quiet than you were expecting. And it comes with a measure of sadness. And so there is a tension here I need to maintain a little bit, is that when you find yourself in a sudden isolation or silence, and you sense grief and sorrow emerging in that, there is a place where the community of faith come along and support that for a season. And that's totally appropriate. So me talking about solitude and silence, and you find yourself stuck in it, please just know that there's just not enough time in one message to carefully nuance all of those things. But I at least want to attend to that for a second. That I'm not saying that you have to do this, and you, now that you're alone and you're grieving, now you just have to stick with it. There's a point where there's care and nurture in the community of faith. Okay, but if we're not talking about that, chances are most of us don't know how to sit still and be quiet. And when we find ourselves alone, we pursue some form of distraction. But Jesus found solitude with the Father as indispensable to his life. As a matter of fact, in John chapter 5, Jesus makes a stunning statement. In verse 19, he says to the people who were listening, the Son can do nothing by himself. This is the Son of God. And he says, this is the truth. Every word in red is true. But when Jesus sort of punctuates this, he's making a pretty stunning point. This is the truth. The Son can do nothing by himself. As far as I know, not a Greek scholar, nothing means nothing. Whatever the Greek word is, pretty sure it means nothing. He can do nothing by himself. He does only what he sees the Father doing. Whatever the Father does, the Son does. Then the first part of verse 20, he says, for the Father loves the Son and shows him everything he's doing. Where do you think Jesus saw what the Father was doing? Of course, the Father is working in all the different places of the world in ways that we don't always see. So yes, I would imagine Jesus did have eyes to see what the Father was doing out in public, but that eyesight, that attention is nurtured by the disciplined practice of being alone with the Father. And in that place, the love of the Father being experienced and known so that his eyesight gets tuned in to see what the Father's doing. And it's from that place of intimacy with the Father that Jesus was able to go out and see all the things that he was called to do. See all the things the Father was doing and join the Father in that work. If Jesus, the Savior of the world, found this to be a priority, I really don't think we have any good excuse. Because as far as I know, none of us are the Savior of the world. Forget my sarcasm, but I need you to get this. None of us are the Savior of the world. I realize you're important. You have big responsibilities. People depend on you. People need you. Those needy people might be related to you. You may have birthed those needy humans. And I get it. You matter. You're important. I want you to have a sense of purpose in everything you do. However, none of us are doing such important work as Jesus saving the world. And Jesus often withdrew to the wilderness for prayer. What is our excuse? I don't have any good one. I'm tired. I'm busy. Those are lame. Those are stupid excuses. What that basically says is Jesus' intimacy with you is a whole lot less important to me than doing all of this other stuff. And I would imagine none of you would actually say that out loud. But if you analyzed your life, is that what would be said?